Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at a rather interestingly named unique item, Blackleach Blade Bill. Blackleach Blade Bill comes in two forms. It comes in both the ethereal and the non-ethereal, and it can also be upgraded, which we'll be testing that out later. It has some very interesting effects on it, like the 5% chance to cast level 5 Weaken, along with the plus maximum damage based on character level, which could make it some interesting choices for certain characters. I think the most part, though, it ends up being overshadowed by other items. Let's take a look at the effects of this item one at a time. So right off the bat, we have 33 to 250 damage on the non-ethereal. And we have 50 to 312 on the ethereal. And you might be wondering why there's not much of a big difference between the ethereal and the non-ethereal versions, and that's because of the max damage. The max damage isn't affected by the ethereal nature of the item, and that plus 123 to max is based on character level. So it is affecting that. Right off the bat, though, you'll see that it has 72 strength requirement and only a level requirement of 42, so it's definitely something that can be used by just about anybody. Most characters have at least about 72 strength. With a level requirement of 42 means you could put this on a rather low-level mercenary, and he could get some use out of it. Now, the weapon itself is relatively slow, and it doesn't have any increased attack speed, which is an issue, and you have to keep that in mind. We also have a 5% chance to cast level 5 Weaken on striking, a 140% enhanced damage, which does vary between 100 to 140%. We have 1.25 per character level max damage, so you're looking at basically 1 at level 1 to 123 at level 99. We got 8% lifesteal, which is always nice to have on a weapon, and would definitely come in handy for a mercenary. We've got -2 to light radius and -25% requirements. Now, do keep in mind that the -25% requirements is kind of broken on mercenaries. I don't know exactly why it doesn't work very well on mercenaries, but for some reason or another, when it comes to mercs, they red out when you put the item on them and they can't wear it. You have to, from what I understand, you have to leave the game and re-enter the game for them to be able to use it. And then if you accidentally unequip it for any reason, you would have to exit and leave the game again. It seems like much of a hassle, to be honest. What we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you this Weaken effect, and we're going to talk about what Weaken does. So I'm going to go to Darkwood here. We're going to attack a couple monsters, and we're going to see if we can get the Weaken effect to proc. Now, Weaken is a -33% to enemy damage. So what this means is that when you hit somebody with this effect, you will get -33% to the damage that they output. Only physical damage. And it is very similar to the curse that necromancers use that does the same exact thing. At level 5, this curse has about a 23... I believe it's about a 23-second duration. And I'll get no potions.
Good day.
Probably be better if I put this on a character that can actually do some melee damage, wouldn't it? Let's transfer this over to the Barbarian, shall we? That sounds like fun. Alright, so here is the two weapons. We've got the ethereal and the non-ethereal version. So let's go play around with the effects on this, shall we? Pretty sure we're going to have a much easier time hitting the targets than the Necromancer did. Keep in mind that effects like this will not work on Whirlwind. Whirlwind is not capable of proccing effects. And there you go. And that's the that is the weaken curse. So that will last for about 23, I think it's 23 seconds, maybe a little bit more than that. I think it's somewhere in between 23 and 24, actually. And it's actually a decent little curse. The problem with weaken that I've always had, even when I'm on a necromancer, and I was, thinking about whipping it out of my toolbox of curses, is that if I was going for a curse, why would I go with weaken? I mean, there's amplified damage, there's confuse, there's decrepify, there's all these amazing curses, and these curses are not what I would call, petty things. They're very, very effective curses, and why would I want to choose a curse that only gives me negative to the damage that the monsters are dishing out to me? Why not a curse that increases my kill speed, like amplify damage? Why not a curse that decreases multiple things, like decrepify? Decrepify decreases multiple different things by 50%. Confuse gives me a huge amount of protection because it causes the monsters to attack each other instead of attacking me. Weaken still has them attacking me. They just do a little less damage while they're attacking me. So it's interesting to think about it from this kind of perspective of why specifically would I want weaken. Now I could imagine that weaken on a mercenary would come in handy because it would keep him alive a little bit better, and with a 5% chance to cast a 23-second curse, it would happen often enough to help keep him alive. So that's very interesting. Let's take a look at this item if it were to be upgraded in the cube, shall we? So let's upgrade the non-ethereal version first. And for that, we're going to need a Lum Rune, a Pul Rune, and a Perfect Emerald. Now, right off the bat here, let's just take note of the effects. So we have 33 to 250, a 72 strength requirement, and a level requirement of 42. And when we upgrade this, it turns into a Colossus Vulge, and we have a dexterity requirement of 42, a strength of 158, and a level requirement of 55, with a damage of 40 to 519. And notice that the base damage, the minimum damage, didn't go up very much, whereas the maximum damage did. So we got a huge increase in the variance of the damage. So let's go ahead and grab our second set. And Blackleach Blade Ethereal version is 50 to 312 with 62 strength requirement because of the negative 10 on Ethereal, and a level requirement of 42. And that one goes to 60 to 715 with a dexterity requirement of 32, practically nothing. Strength of 148 and a required level 55. So as you can see here, it's an interesting upgrade. But is it the greatest upgrade? I mean, is it something that you would necessarily want to do? I don't know. I feel like there's an issue here with the requirements. So if we take a look at the requirements on this item,
I'll put that to good use.
my mercenary right now has 200 strength because he's level 95. But a much lower mercenary, one at level 55, probably won't even have 148 strength. So we won't actually be able to probably put this on a mercenary on level. And this can be an issue as well. I feel like the several factors here are working against this weapon. Its slow attack speed combined with the fact that it has no increase, and the lack of any real special bonus to this weapon kind of makes it a lackluster choice. I mean, in general, the only thing this weapon really has going for it is the plus maximum damage, and I feel like there's a lot of other weapons out there that would probably work better. Rune words as well as unique items. If you happen to find this as a Blackleach Blade Bill, the unupgraded version, I feel like it would do a decent job at level 42 to help keep your mercenary alive. But it would quickly outlevel itself, and before too long you would have a better weapon to put on your mercenary. If you found the ethereal version specifically, it might make a really good mercenary weapon, but the non-ethereal version, not so much. Without increased attack speed, and the slow nature of this weapon kind of rules it out for shapeshifting druids. And I don't even really see a good reason to turn this into an iron golem. I feel like it's really limited to very specific use case scenarios, like maybe a charge paladin or a polearm barbarian. I mean, the interesting thing about this item for a polearm barbarian is at level 55, I feel like that's actually decent damage. So if you were to have 158 strength and 42 dex, this could certainly work for a polearm barbarian for a little while. If you were a whirlwind polearm barbarian, you're not going to be able to gain the effect of that weaken. So if you're worried about it overriding another curse, you wouldn't have to. It's an interesting item, but I feel like it's missing something to be useful, to be completely useful. It would definitely work to help out your mercenaries low level, but as far as using it on a character, I feel like there's probably some better items that you could be using. Maybe if you were specifically a polearm barbarian and you were just looking for something around the level of 42, and you happen to find this item, it could definitely help you out for a little while. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and keep watching.